All right, beginners, moving on to literature. So we read our first 2 pages yesterday, the day before yesterday for literature. So we're gonna read another page today. So let's go ahead and open up together. So you guys say less. Turn the page. Scribble, scribble, scribble. Turn the page. Creepy little, what's it called? Moon with sharp teeth and then a beautiful sun. Turn the page again, and we have different stories like Abraham Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin. We have Pocahontas. Okay, we have a beautiful painting or drawing. More beautiful drawings. Turn the page again. We read this one yesterday. What did we talk about last time? I keep saying yesterday. It's not yesterday. It was a day ago. What did we talk about though? We talked about what? His father was worked in what? A tiny dark little shop. That's in a tiny dark little shop. And he did what? He worked with a big word called called a loom. He worked with a loom and he would sew stuff. But is that what Columbus wanted to be? Did he want to do what his father did? No. He had a desire in his heart to do what? To sail on a ship. So let's see if he gets any closer to his dream. So let's turn the page again. Let's admire this painting for just a minute. I love the yellow and the blue. Super beautiful. It looks like there's a big wall here and the town is inside the walls. And if you go over here, there's a big hill with little tiny ships to take them to the big ships. There's some people holding animals here. They probably, a lot of times they would go to different countries and they would collect things that they don't have in their place and they would bring it over. So they probably didn't have a monkey, so maybe they brought the monkeys over on the ship and they're trying to sell them. But if you look closely, here is Christopher Columbus's shop, his dad's shop, and that's his dad working back there. And that's him right here holding an orange. Let's get our pointer finger ready. Let's follow along. I'm gonna say it very slow so you can repeat with me or after me, okay? So let's go and do this together. Ready? Get your finger, we're gonna start right here at he. Ready? He was born in Italy, in the seaport of Genoa, more than 500 years ago. Christopher liked to listen to this loud talk of the sailors who walked in and out of the city gates. So what is this? It's the city gates. Close by his father's house, he heard their tales of storms and adventures at the sea and faraway lands, almost at the end of the world. Next page. For in those days, most people thought that if you sailed far enough out into the ocean, you would come to the end of the world. They still thought that the world was flat as a platter. They laughed at the learning men who said that the world was not small and flat, but a large ball that spun in space. So, what did it say? It said that he would stand outside his father's shop where the gates to the city were, and what would he do? He would listen to the sailors because he wanted to be a what? He wanted to be a sailor. So he'd listen to their stories and he'd hear them talking about storms and all this adventure. And what do you think he felt when he heard that? Was he like, oh, boring story? No, he was probably really into the stories. He was listening to all the little details because that's what he wanted to do. That's what his passion was. And then it even went to say that people thought back then that what? If you were on the ocean, people thought that you'd walk people thought that if you were in the ocean, you would be on a boat, and if you go too far, what would happen? Your ship would go poof and fall off the earth, because they thought the earth was what? They thought it was flat. They thought that if you go too far, you're gonna fall off and go to outer space or something. They didn't know how the earth looked, and they said that people would laugh at what? The men who were learning things, so probably the wise men, they would laugh at them because the wise men would say what? That the earth was round. It wasn't flat because our Earth is what? It's round and it spins. And people are like, you're crazy. Our Earth isn't round, it's flat. See? Like they still didn't have technology and they couldn't really imagine what the Earth would look like from outer space. So that's today's reading for Columbus. So you should have a page that looks just like this. And it says Christopher Columbus, 6 and 9. Those are the pages we just read. And it says, or it has a picture of a what? It has a picture of a map. It has a picture of this. Do you guys know what this is right here? This is a compass. And then right here it says, the busy activities of the seaport intrigued Columbus and planted within him the desire to visit far-off places. Let me say that again. The busy activity of the seaport, so that means where he lived, it was what, very busy, because remember from our last picture, it was curved, and so the ships would go in and out, so you'd get people from all over the world. We just get, like where we live, do we have an ocean right next to us? Not including the Reedley Beach? No. So a lot of people that are here live here, right? You don't get people traveling too much from where we live. But if you go to a seaport, or nowadays we have airplanes, but if you go to what's it called? An airport or a seaport, you get a lot of people from what? Different places. So they have all these stories to tell of their homeland. So he loved listening to that. And what did that do, listening to those stories from reading our book? It intrigued him. Intrigued, say intrigued, that's a big word. Intrigued, that means it caught his attention. When he heard it, he was like, wow. And he'd sit there and he'd listen and he'd probably plan in his head his own adventures because it inspired him. He wanted to do the same thing. And then it says Columbus planted within him a desire to visit far-off lands. So because he was intrigued, all right, it planted something in him that made him want to do the same. He's like, wow, a place where there's gold? I want to go there. I want to find gold. I bet I'll find buried treasure. He made him have a desire to want to go on a ship. And that's something that's really special because we can be intrigued too, can't we? That's what school's kind of about. It's to learn about all different subjects, but it's hopefully to plant something in you guys, not only to plant, different subjects in you guys, but to plant hopefully something that will intrigue you guys. Maybe something that really intrigues you is art, and you really love art, and you always do art at home, and you ask your mom and dad to buy you art stuff. Maybe one day you'll be an artist, or maybe one day you'll teach your own art classes, or go to France or Italy and study art in another country, just like the authors did for our story, all right? Maybe you love math so much. Did you know that there's math in buildings? When you build stuff, you have to do math. Maybe you'll become an architect, all right? There's something that God has planted in your heart that you don't know it yet. You won't know it for probably a long time, but God has put a gift in everyone, and he has planted something in your heart that when you start studying it and when you start seeing it and hearing it, you're gonna have a desire for it. And that desire is there on purpose so you can go and you can become something when you're older and use your gifts that God has given you when you're older. Isn't that something really unique and special? So that's something I think about. Think about, what's my favorite subject in school? What do I think I want to be when I grow up? I didn't even know I wanted to be a teacher until I started coming here with you guys, and I realized I love teaching you guys. All right, so this is all for today in literature. For right here to fill in the blank, that is a picture of a compass. And we haven't talked about compasses yet, but in our next story next week, we will talk about compass. So it's just kind of introducing to you what a compass is. Do you guys know what a compass is? A compass is, it's not a map, but it's a circle and it has these little arrows, and there's one that says NESW, and it stands for north, south, east, and west. And you have it with you, whether you're on your boat or on land. Back then, a lot of times they use it. Nowadays, we just have our phone. But back then, they would have it, and you'd be able to find your way to places. You'd be able to find out, I think we should sail this way, and you'd be able to go based off of what the little compass tells you, so that you can make sure you don't travel the wrong way and end up somewhere where you didn't want to travel, which It was kind of funny with this story, and you'll find out later on. All right, so that is today for Columbus. So I'll go ahead and move closer. So go ahead and write this, and when you fill in the blank, let me move it in closer for you. Go ahead and pause the button if you need to. Okay, all right, beginners. So I will see you guys next time for literature. Great job.